So in chapter one, this is actually one of my favorite quotes from the whole book, and it's something that I used in my first part of the book that I wrote, Defund the Fun Police. Um, and it's if they are angry, perturb them. So if the people, or if your enemy is angry, if they are able to be conquered by anger, if they are vulnerable to becoming angry, right? Take advantage of that. Make them angry, poke them in a way that they don't like, right? I'm not sure how uh yours translates that, but it's sort of in the middle of the chapter one for me.
That I'm not entirely sure, but see that ties into using the enemy's weak points to your advantage, right? Like your ability to become easily perturbed or easily shaken off of somebody's comment uh, is essentially a sign of weakness, right? And that's
Right, exactly.
I'll share some examples where I don't know if you've experienced this in your life immediately or if you've seen this kind of on the news, but or anywhere. It's always when a leader becomes extremely emotional, either through anger or through, where that's just often perceived as weakness. Like
Yeah.
most men perceive a leader to be like really aggressive and to just like go head on in. And I think that there's a difference between emotional aggression and then just decisive action as aggression. Like just striking with precision,
Right.
being aggressive versus, running in and starting throwing stuff and screaming and, like that's a sign of being able to be easily shaken,
Right.
not centered. So that's an incredible point. And if you can kind of tease your opponent in such a capacity to where they start to like, their anger increases and you're like like a composer, you're able to use, to play them in that sense, then they're often they often capitulate to their own, you know, emotion.
Right. Right. Well, this is actually, I mean, a point that I think I'll say it this way. Uh, I think people are worried about this with Trump,
Mm.
right? I I hear a lot of people who are liberals or more liberal who don't like Trump. They say a lot of things, and not all of them are reasonable. Some of them because they're perturbed by Trump. They're angry and perturbed. But one thing they try to point to, I think, is that, well, he's emotionally volatile. Um, he's got, his ego. So therefore, if you've got an ego, then you're going to need to react to defend it, and you're not going to act in a way that's, um, yeah, like reasonable, effective for the greater good. You're going to be centered on yourself. And whether or not that's true, that is something people are worried about because we tend to universally acknowledge this point that if you're emotionally, I would say that if you're reacting from self-interest, right? If you're just interested in your own emotions, your own desire to be perceived in a certain way, then that's going to cause issues. We recognize that. But what you're saying about like decisive action, that might involve emotion, that it might involve that aspect of aggression, but it's about acting forcefully towards a goal that is not defined by your own self-interest. It's about what's actually supposed to be good. And so I think that's the difference there.
That's it, and I love this topic. I wasn't really expecting to go in this direction, but then what comes to mind is, there have been several times, let's say like, and I don't mean like using aggression as fuel in a sense is healthy, right? In moderate amounts. Like you don't want to act impulsively off of aggression and completely blow down like we would consider Trump being a bull in a china shop, right? Just causing complete havoc, right?
Right.
There's a difference between using aggression as like the catalyst to for destruction to ensue, or there's the ability to use aggression as inherent fuel to motivate you to get something done, right? Like if let's, what was it that good old George W. said? He's like fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, whatever that saying was, right? It was like you could only be crossed a certain amount of times before you like stand up and do something about it, right? So
Mhm.
there's that aspect of it, but I think what we're facing now, especially among men, and kind of invoking a sense of inherent leadership, a sense of like of decisiveness, is the necessity to get out of like a state of apathy, out of a state of just like being too overly passive.
Yeah.
But at the
Mhm.
same time, if somebody says, "Hey, man, I don't like your face very much, or I don't like I don't really like what you're up for, man. I don't really like you." Like you don't react to that. You can remain centered and not
Yeah.
like not blow up. So it's like a balance. Like men need to become um a little more assertive, but at the same time, when you're pushed, you're still able to remain centered and stoic and calm. Yeah.
Yeah.